Wow, good morning. Welcome to Good Morning Uganda. It's a beautiful Wednesday morning, a day we crush on women, but also we serve you here on Good Morning Uganda. Our mandate is to inspire you, educate you, and also inform you. So thank you so much for being a part of our programs. We don't take that for granted. Today, I am flying with Julie F. Nantaba Musisi. Robert Chirabo Nyonyintono is a bit under the weather, but probably will be back with us pretty soon. That being said, I really hope that you are okay. And today, for someone you care for, I think it's important for you to actually find out if they're really doing okay, rather than the normal, how are you, I'm fine, are they really fine? It's important for us to check in with our people, because every time you read the newspapers, you watch the news on TV, you speak to friends, colleagues, you will hear one thing that is becoming an underlining for pretty much every person in our society, that they are not okay, that they are depressed, that they are struggling with demons privately, things that they think are too big to be shared or too embarrassing to be shared with other people. Now, today being Women Crush Wednesday, I send this message to fellow women that you do not have to suffer in silence, especially where matters of domestic violence are involved. Talk to someone, go to the authorities, try to find help. Do not suffer in silence, because we have seen many women also die at the hands of their partners, intimate partners, and sometimes even family, like fathers, like brothers, and all because they could not speak out or because they were too embarrassed to have these conversations. So seek the help. There is the help, there is the law. Try to see that you remain alive at all costs. So today I will not crush on women. I will just say and encourage you to seek the help that you need in the case of domestic violence. Yes, marriage is very important, but if it stands at a point where it might cost you a life, then you do not have to do it. You may have to save yourself and save the lives of your children. Now, that being said, the Information Minister, Dr. Chris Bariomonsi, has revealed that the Cabinet has resolved to amend the UPDF Act to ensure that future chairpersons of the General Court Martial are trained lawyers. The move follows a Cabinet meeting held at the State House in Entebbe on Monday to discuss amendments aimed at aligning the law with the recent Supreme Court ruling. As you may be aware, the Supreme Court did rule that civilians should not be tried in the court martial, but there was a clause that said in the event that they must be, then the lawyers trying them, the judges on the court martial, should be trained lawyers, and that they should allow civilians to be a part of the committee. So now there is move for this amendment. However, members of parliament have said that a section of members of parliament argue that this could be aiming at trying civilians in the military court, especially now that we are launching into the year that precedes the 2026 general elections. Well, Julie, good morning.
Good morning, Olive.
How are you?
Very well, thank you. Good morning to you, and thank you for addressing domestic violence. It's a pertinent issue and very prevalent, happening, but in silence. So advice to women, do not stay silent. Speak up, speak up, speak up, because your life matters. You staying alive matters. But also allow me first, I think, brag a bit on behalf of every Arsenal fan. Last night's match was very interesting with Madrid, as arguably one of the best football clubs. Madrid went away with an away defeat, but that detail will be Ruben's to discuss later on in the show. But once again, good morning. So good to be here. And I think following the conversation of the cabinet amending the UPDF Act, I think it's in the right direction, as far as last when the Chief Justice, the CJ, ordered, that prosecution by judges in the in the court martial should be with people who are civilians shouldn't be a part of that court, but also the idea that those chairpersons who chair the court cases, prosecutions, should be trained lawyers. I think it's a ray of hope.
It's a ray of hope, though a section of members of parliament are saying that government might use this avenue to keep amending different acts and different laws so that it is favored. And they said if they prove that this to be true, they will not vote behind this and they will not pass the amendment. Well, that's what is coming in from the government and the UPDF. But now let's have a look at the local news.
Yes, indeed. Now, over 80 researched innovations are being exhibited at Makerere University's Freedom Square, and innovations ranging from food preservation and processing technology, science and locomotion have been deployed and developed by Makerere University students and professors. Now, President Yoweri Museveni opened the exhibition but decried the delay by Uganda and Africa to embrace research and innovation that has made them depend on other continents. Responding to an appeal by the Minister of Science and Technology, Monica Musenero, to draft a policy to compel the government agencies and ministries start purchasing locally made products like vehicles, for example, the Kira Motors president says is a good idea. Now, Museveni reaffirmed commitment to support science and innovations with an annual budget, and Makerere University receives 30 billion Uganda shillings to support research and innovations. The State Minister for Primary Education, Joyce Moriku Kaduchu, who represented Minister Janet Museveni, commended the university for the efforts in research and innovation, and the Chancellor, Dr. Crispus Chiyonga, and Vice Chancellor, Professor Barnabas Nawangwe, commended government for funding research and innovation. In the meantime, the public who went to Makerere had mixed reactions on the 30 billion shillings budget allocated for research and innovation. Now, looking at matters Ministry of Health has received over 1,000 liters of biolarvicides from the United Republic of Tanzania to support the elimination malaria and other vector-borne diseases in the country. Now, the donation follows a sideline meeting between the President of Zanzibar, Dr. Hussein Ali Mwinyi, and Vice President Major Retired Jessica Alupo at the G77 plus China Summit of Heads of State in Cuba. During the meeting, Alupo, who was representing President Yoweri Museveni at the 2023 summit, requested that Uganda join Zanzibar in the United Republic of Tanzania in the use of biolarvicide to eliminate malaria and other vector-borne disease in Uganda. Alupo received the donation at the Ministry of Health headquarters and expressed gratitude to Dr. Hussein Ali Mwinyi and the government of the United Republic of Tanzania for the cordial relationship. Now, government has proposed amendments to the UPDF Act to permit military courts trying civilians under clearly defined legal conditions. The Minister of ICT and National Guidance, Dr. Chris Baryomunsi, says the amendments include a provision that allows civilians tried in military courts to appeal to the Supreme Court. Among the proposed changes is a requirement that the chairperson of any court martial must be a legally trained lawyer. This is intended to address long-standing concerns about the qualifications of those presiding over military trials. And the amendments will enhance fairness and transparency in the military justice system and preserve the role of military courts in safeguarding national security. On a separate note, the minister announced that the proposed fee for investors establishing industrial and commercial premises at the Kabalega petrol-based industrial park will be $1.5 per square meter per year. And that wraps it for what's happening on the local scene. Now let's take a look at what's happening on the foreign scene.
Now, on the foreign scene, Dominican Republic nightclub collapse kills 79. At least 79 people have been killed and more than 150 injured after a roof collapsed at a nightclub in the Dominican Republic Mexico's capital, Santo Domingo, officials have said. A provincial governor and former Major League Baseball pitcher Octavio Dotel were among the victims. Dotel, 51, died on the way to hospital after being pulled from the debris. The incident happened in the early hours of Tuesday at a concert by popular merengue singer Ruby Perez at the Jet Set nightclub. He was reported among those trapped in the rubble. Hundreds of people were inside the venue, and some 400 rescuers are still searching for survivors. There are fears the death toll will rise further. The director of the Emergency Operations Center, Juan Manuel Mendez, said he was hopeful that many of those buried under the collapsed roof were still alive. Jesset is a popular nightclub in Santo Domingo, which regularly hosts dance music concerts on Monday evenings. Politicians, athletes, and other prominent figures were in attendance. Now moving on, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has spoken out about the dire humanitarian situation unfolding in the besieged Gaza Strip, saying civilians are in an endless death loop amid renewed Israeli bombardments and a ban on the entry of much-needed aid. Speaking to reporters on Tuesday, Guterres rejected a new Israeli proposal to control aid deliveries in Gaza, saying it risks further controlling and callously limiting aid to the last calorie and grain flour. No aid has been delivered to the enclave of 2.3 million people since March 2nd, as Israel continues to seal vital border crossings, barring the entry of everything from food to medical supplies and fuel. Kogat, an Israeli military unit responsible for civilian matters in occupied Palestinian territory, last week met with the UN agencies and international aid groups and said it proposed a structured monitoring and aid entry mechanism for Gaza after it claimed that aid was being diverted away from civilians by Hamas. And lastly, 3 United States citizens initially sentenced to death in the Democratic Republic of Congo over a botched coup attempt have been repatriated after Kinshasa commuted their death sentences to life imprisonment last week. Congolese presidential spokesperson Tina Salama said on Tuesday that the 3 men, including the son of political exile Christian Malanga, who led the attack on the presidential palace in May last year, would all serve out their life sentences in the United States. Marcel Malanga, 21, claimed he had been forced to take part by his father, who live-streamed from the palace during the coup attempt before being shot and killed by Congolese forces. Also repatriated were Tyler Thompson Jr., 21, a friend of the younger Malanga, and Benjamin Ruben Zalman Poloun, 36, who reportedly got to know the father through a gold mining company. U.S. Department of State spokesperson Tammy Bruce confirmed the transfer on Tuesday, saying that the United States condemned the armed attacks and supported Democratic Republic of Congo's bid to hold the convicts accountable, but that is also sought consistent, compassionate, humane treatment and a fair legal process. Well, that does it for our international news. Now let's have a look at the dailies.
And in the dailies, starting off with the new vision, Speaker to face NRM primaries, and a detailed roadmap unveiled for 2026 polls. And Museveni wants scientists to be given priority for student loans, and a picture of the president there at the Makere's Freedom Square during the Research and Innovations exhibition. And still in the new vision, Mwalimu Senkubuge defied autism to excel, and government releases 19.7 trillion shillings for Q4. And also in the Katanga trial, expert fired killer pistol twice to get control samples. That is in the new vision. And looking at the Daily Monitor, Same old stories, and this is in regards to the 100 million that is alleged a section of MPs from NRM party joined by their friendly opposition and independent counterparts between Monday night and Tuesday morning got this financial bailout. And looking at the bailouts over the years 2023, 2022, 2017, 2011, 2005, and cash bonanza, two offices were a beehive of activity between Monday night and yesterday morning after a section of legislators who had been impatiently waiting since last week for the windfall were called in one by one to pick 100 million Uganda shillings each to relieve them of financial difficulties. That is in the Daily Monitor. And the lizard wonders, taxpayers are on their own. Anyways, 20 trillion shillings for fourth quarter will be shared. That is in the Daily Monitor. And Ugandan gold diggers face kidnap death in Congo. And also the next gen architects redefining affordable housing. That is in the Daily Monitor. But looking at the rest of East Africa, what do we have, Olive?
Well, in the Daily Nation, we go all the way to Kenya. Puzzle of 6 names added to IBC shortlist. Still in the Daily Nation, we need 98,000 new tutors. TSC shocker on teacher shortage crisis. Like Uhuru, Ruto turns to military on projects. And still in the Daily Nation, cement use in the sharpest dip in 20 years on project cuts. Then payback, Motori's security withdrawn. Now, according to the Daily Nation, Justin Moturi says there were 2 and were withdrawn last night, that is on Monday, and reasons were not given. I am entitled to them under the Retirement Benefits, Deputy President and Designated State Officer Act. According to the Daily Nation, 2 security officers attached to former Public Service Cabinet Secretary Justin Muturi have been withdrawn without explanation, according to the former Speaker of the National Assembly, Mr. Muturi, who confirmed to the Nation yesterday that his security detail had been withdrawn despite being entitled to bodyguards under the Retirement Benefits Act as former Speaker of the National Assembly. That is in the Daily Nation. But now looking at the Citizen, revealed grand plan to re-energize tea industry. The government is in the process of overhauling the country's tea industry, mainly through promoting transparency in the pricing structure of green tea leaves with a view to boosting farmers' earnings. That is in the Citizen. Still in the Citizen, key developments as Samia visits Angola. CNG mother station set to become operational this month, says TPDC. Also, government urges private sector to invest in university hostels. Still in the Citizen, Mwana Click makes history with a win at Digital Media Awards 2025. And lastly, national oversight, the unsung architect who shaped Zanzibar's skyline. That and more details in the Citizen. Get yourself a copy today and get the details. Now, we will take a short break, and I believe this one is one you will enjoy. Here is Residues by Chris Brown.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Don't know when my nights became
Wow, good morning. Welcome to Good Morning Uganda. It's a beautiful Wednesday morning, a day we crush on women, but also we serve you here on Good Morning Uganda. Our mandate is to inspire you, educate you, and also inform you. So thank you so much for being a part of our programs. We don't take that for granted. Today, I am flying with Julie F. Nantaba Musisi. Robert Chirabo Nyonyintono is a bit under the weather, but probably will be back with us pretty soon. That being said, I really hope that you are okay. And today, for someone you care for, I think it's important for you to actually find out if they're really doing okay, rather than the normal, how are you, I'm fine, are they really fine? It's important for us to check in with our people, because every time you read the newspapers, you watch the news on TV, you speak to friends, colleagues, you will hear one thing that is becoming an underlining for pretty much every person in our society, that they are not okay, that they are depressed, that they are struggling with demons privately, things that they think are too big to be shared or too embarrassing to be shared with other people. Now, today being Women Crush Wednesday, I send this message to fellow women that you do not have to suffer in silence, especially where matters of domestic violence are involved. Talk to someone, go to the authorities, try to find help. Do not suffer in silence, because we have seen many women also die at the hands of their partners, intimate partners, and sometimes even family, like fathers, like brothers, and all because they could not speak out or because they were too embarrassed to have these conversations. So seek the help. There is the law. Try to see that you remain alive at all costs. So today I will not crush on women. I will just say and encourage you to seek the help that you need in the case of domestic violence. Yes, marriage is very important, but if it stands at a point where it might cost you a life, then you do not have to do it. You may have to save yourself and save the lives of your children. Now, that being said, the Information Minister, Dr. Chris Bariomonsi, has revealed that the Cabinet has resolved to amend the UPDF Act to ensure that future chairpersons of the General Court Martial are trained lawyers. The move follows a Cabinet meeting held at the State House in Entebbe on Monday to discuss amendments aimed at aligning the law with the recent Supreme Court ruling. As you may be aware, the Supreme Court did rule that civilians should not be tried in the court martial, but there was a clause that said in the event that they must be, then the lawyers trying them, the judges on the court martial, should be trained lawyers, and that they should allow civilians to be a part of the committee. So now there is move for this amendment. However, members of parliament have said that a section of members of parliament argue that this could be aiming at trying civilians in the military court, especially now that we are launching into the year that precedes the 2026 general elections. Well, Julie, good morning.
Good morning, Olive.
How are you?
Very well, thank you. Good morning to you, and thank you for addressing domestic violence. It's a pertinent issue and very...
Any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21# and select daily, or use the MyMTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Juko.
Yo.
Wachikuwa. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda, haven't you heard of the Parish Development Model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a poultry project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning once again. I'm Olive Monica Najama with Julie Nantaba Mosisi. Now, on March 26th, we did have floods in Kampala as on the heels of the heavy downpour that we did experience that morning. Unfortunately, people like Awan Ronald Katende were caught on video dumping trash in the drainage system in one area in Kampala. Now, when we did have a conversation with Kampala Capital City Authority, they again mentioned that yes, we did have the floods and that we have a poor drainage system, but the situation is made worse by human practices, and this is on how we manage waste as residents of Kampala City. So Mr. Ronald Katende, who was captured on video dumping garbage into a drainage system and during the heavy downpour in Kampala, this situation has ignited a broader conversation about waste management practices and environmental responsibility in urban settings. This discussion aims to explore the implications of such actions, the effectiveness of current waste management systems, and potential strategies for improvement. This is what we are delving into because everyone is blaming someone. The residents are blaming Kampala Capital City Authority and the government for quote-unquote failing to provide a good drainage system. However, the government is saying your practices and irresponsibility has led the city to where we saw it on the 26th of March and what we have seen in preceding years. So who is calling the kettle black? Or there is actually someone here who is the kettle and the other person is not. Well, Julie, welcome into this conversation.
Thank you, Olive. Very interesting one at that. And reading that story, the gentleman who was arrested and now remanded on remand actually asked for forgiveness from the judge, citing that he is the sole breadwinner for his family and he has an expectant wife. And yeah, he was really asking for forgiveness as to regards to what he did. Well, I like the fact that he did not waste time. Court's time. And he admitted that he was guilty and asked for forgiveness. Now, it's up to the court to decide what his fate is. But also, I think this is a good example. When the law is implemented and we see it, I really hope and pray that examples such as these are actually what takes place in all sectors, not just waste management or the cleanliness of Kampala, but in all avenues and sectors for the country. Be it corruption, we see people brought to the book with their evidence and there's nothing they can do, or them pleading guilty or not. Things like this are good.
Okay, though I've had the story of I'm a breadwinner, I am the sole breadwinner. I mean, by the time, I'm sure he knew what he was doing was wrong from the moment he did it.
It's interesting that he could have known. But I've also come to take note of the fact that the ignorance of Ugandans seems, what's the word? You know, that ignorance, it's open that you're supposed to know it. But for some reason...
And the reason he chose to pour the trash in the drainage system when it was still raining, to me is
Yes.
because he knew that he couldn't do it when it wasn't raining, that he
Oh,
could
there's
be
that.
spotted.
There's that. There's that. But why I'm looking at that from that facet is because I know someone from the area I stay. He collects garbage around, but many times I wonder where he deposits it, and you can catch him throwing it anyhow, anywhere, because he makes money from different households, and then but because his nature of a Ugandan and a citizen is not that exposed human being who's aware of what's happening in the news, who's aware of the law. He's really that type of person. So many times I would ask him, why are you doing this? He'd be like, it's the only place available. And he innocently and confidently says it without fear that he could be arrested, without fear that it's wrong, so I tend to think that there are Ugandans, a few of them, who probably are in that caliber, but obviously the best way that they learn is jail.
Julie, I admire your faith in humanity because I refuse to see it that way.
Yes.
But you see what happens in the court of public opinion. To me, the people are guilty,
Yes.
are guilty until they are proven innocent.
Yes.
But our laws say someone is innocent until proven guilty. So
and
it doesn't.
Even if you're really, really ignorant of it, the law doesn't excuse you.
Yes, I don't think they're 100% ignorant, but my opinion is just an opinion, because at the end of the day we have competent courts, and we will see what will happen. One thing is for sure is that Ronald Katende, who was caught on video dumping trash in a drainage system during that rain that we received on the 26th of March, was apprehended, and he was brought to court, and we will know what the court will decide, especially after his apology that Julie just shared with us. Yes. Now, Julie, still looking at the situation of Ronald, his actions, what do they reveal about the current state of waste disposal habits among Kampala residents?
They reveal a lot. One, we are complacent as a people, and much as we are all pointing fingers, the authorities are pointing fingers at the dwellers of Kampala. Kampala dwellers are pointing fingers at the authorities, but we all have a role to play. It can't just be one-sided. Everyone played a part, everyone is playing a part, everyone is doing something, however little. It's something that is causing a big impact. And for every time you are driving or you are on a border, you finish taking your juice or your water and just litter that water bottle, that is you playing a part in destroying the environment. And maybe let me just help us, as obvious as it might sound, let me just help us understand the disadvantages of the things we do, of dumping in drainage systems. Number one, you're blocking that drainage system. That means when you block it, its pipes and drains are blocked, it will eventually lead to floods, right? As 26th March was a big, clear example, not talked about, but it experienced, right? If you look at water pollution, obviously all of these things that we dump in the drainage systems end up within our rivers and our lakes. Recently, we saw a story of Lake Victoria appearing green because of toxins. And all of that starts because you dumped a bottle anyhow. You just dumped a polythene bag anyhow. All right? Let's look at the water that stagnates. That's a breeding place for mosquitoes, and that is malaria. All right? Let's look at increased costs for cleaning up. While you say, let the government help us, while you blame the government, at the end of the day, because the government has to always clean up that trench every now and again, that is your money as a taxpayer. So if you look at a wider picture, such as that, and you still have the gusto in you to pick whatever trash you have on you and just hurl it anyhow, surely let's check ourselves. It's deep, it's deeper than we think, and it's serious. So we might as well individually start to take it seriously. And I'm just so excited and happy that Ronald is his name?
Yes, Ronald Katende.
Ronald Katende, is on remand, there are lessons he is picking. By the time he leaves jail in Luzira, I know he will not do it again, because he will know that the dance he would have danced to the tune.
Okay, Julie, actually, to add a little bit onto the basics, it's actually invigorating that we are going through the basics of what your dumping, your poor waste management practices, it would the dire effects that the city might face, because one would think that we already know this. One would think that we shouldn't even be talking about basics, because this is what, primary 3 science.
Yes.
But here we are, our job is to do this. But Julie, there is also another effect when our water is polluted. You did mention something about Lake Victoria turning green because of toxins, and now what this means is that National Water has to actually spend more money buying chemicals to treat the water that ends up in our households. And how do we suffer this brunt? By having increased tariffs.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, there is a ripple effect, and it will take everyone, because water is life.
Yes.
We all need the water, and small acts of poor waste management are costing us in the long run.
The other time, when you talk about waste management, we had a similar conversation while Robert was here, and we talked about if people actually know how to manage their waste in terms of separating what is easily degradable and what is not. And one of the things that I cite out, even just ordinary life, I get to think that people are still complacent. You find that people have trash cans that have everything in there without separating, all right? Well, maybe there's a need for sensitization, maybe there's a need for campaigning, but even things as simple as owning a trash can. Owning a trash can, at least, I don't know, if you can't buy one, of which it's easy to buy one, that, you know.
That depends.
That depends maybe, but okay, I have a sack around. Improvise, improvise.
I remember,
Take the initiative.
Yes.
I've seen homesteads that go as far as throwing diapers into people's gardens. Because it's a diaper, you have used it in your home. It's from your baby. Why do you feel that it's comfortable for someone's garden and it's not comfortable in your home, but it's yours, it's from you?
I think that's the ignorance you were talking about. Julie, I think the problem is not, okay, there is an issue of sorting, and to be honest, I don't think many households sort the trash. Apart from a few people who probably have gardens and they sort and say, banana peelings, I can put this in the garden to, you know, make manure out of them. In the city, I don't think many households sort their trash, and that's the honest truth. Because when the trash vehicles come to collect, you're going to see just them picking those black polythenes, putting onto the truck, and nothing sorted. I believe that many households do not sort. But let's say we have sorted a bit of households collecting the trash disposal. Because in as much as if you stay in an unorganized environment like an estate, you will have the trash vehicles come to pick your trash. But then there are homesteads. Let's look at areas like Waise. Let's look at areas like maybe Makere Chikoni. They're not as organized as probably someone who stays in the areas of Muyenga, someone who stays in an unorganized environment like in Chisasi. So where are these people disposing of their trash, and what have the city authorities put in place to ensure that the waste we collect from our homes is properly disposed of?
I hear you. But also that reminds me of waste management businesses, the different businesses that collect waste from different homesteads, different buildings, different spaces. Some of these waste management businesses also grow reluctant. They drop the ball somewhere, somewhat. One thing for sure is that it's financed. We end up paying. We are the ones who pay for these services. But you notice that some of these businesses, for example, if they're supposed to pick trash from a particular estate every Wednesday, you will find that they've dropped the ball, and that week no one has come through. But it's piling and it's piling and it's piling.
But they eventually come. But how about neighborhoods where this service is non-existent because probably the community cannot afford a service of that nature? How are they disposing of their trash, and what have the city authorities done to help these people? Because they're the majority, and I believe that this is where drainage system dumping takes place the most.
Yes. And if you talk about the authorities, I think that's where they also play a huge role to play in there. Because now areas, for example, Bwaise, that's Kampala. Ideally, Kampala Capital City Authority must have a plan. But let's look at areas that are outside of Kampala or are not considered to be part of Kampala. Could be outskirts and are near Kampala and are maybe taken by the Wakiso district. I've seen that on ground, I've witnessed that for areas in that category of homesteads that the picture you've painted, actually have no plan. But the authorities obviously will tell you that when there's waste mismanagement in your area, you shall be arrested. However, there's no actual plan.
So the city has not given a plan?
Yes, the district or the city. For Kampala, perhaps there is. I am yet to read more on that. But for spaces that are outside, say Wakiso district, you realize that Wakiso district has a law in regards to waste management that everyone who has their waste mismanaged will be arrested. That's why we have all these waste management businesses come through. But you also notice that for areas that are quite crowded or that are not as organized homesteads as they are, do not have a plan, and you find that people freely dispose of their waste, like the gentleman I've told you about, who disposes of waste freely without a worry that they could be arrested, without a worry that perhaps it's wrong, because no one from the authorities is taking shape or taking the lead to talk about it or to address it. I usually see village meetings take place over the weekends, and you notice it's mostly you have to register for an ID, you have to register yourself as a citizen, but waste management doesn't take shape. That conversation is not addressed, and the citizens themselves don't even address it as well. It's just looked at.
Okay, thank you for keeping with us. I'm sure that this conversation is something that is close to home, because one thing every home gathers is trash. We all have waste at some point. At one point, this pen is working. The next minute, it is trash that I need to throw away. So the biggest question is, when we are throwing away this garbage, where do we throw it? Where do we dispose of it? So what is the best approach for environmental responsibility? We are looking at urban waste management, and a case in point, one Ronald Katende was caught on camera disposing of trash into the drainage system. Now he was arrested and he was brought to court, and he is facing charges, of course, of irresponsibility in dumping in, and of course polluting our environment. We are yet to know what the court will decide, but so far he is on remand in Luzira prison. So what is the best approach for environmental responsibility? You should join the conversation. The number is 0709 602 592. Share your views with us on WhatsApp. We will be able to interact with you. Now, Julie, you did mention that in Kampala we have laws against waste, poor waste disposal. Do you know how effective these laws are in deterring improper waste disposal? How
effective? Not so sure. Implementation on record, and in reality, implementation of our laws in Uganda is on the edge all the time. But having seen Ronald's case take shape, I think that is a ray of hope.
Do you think it will deter future dumping?
I think so, especially if using this particular case, the alarm is raised higher and louder. If it's risen louder, if it makes noise, a lot of noise, for example, National Environmental Act convicts you that you are jailed up to 11 years. So you pay 11 million if you are found guilty, and if you can't pay the money, or you're obviously jailed.
But Julie, so, the concern, sorry to interject, the concern here, I believe, would be, yes, you've gotten a few contenders and you have remanded them, but have you really dealt with the problem?
With the underlying
What is the underlying issue? Why is it that we are dumping in Kampala? Let me paint a picture for you. Walk downtown today. Don't even go to Owino side. Walk just along William Street, Loom Street, Nakasero, Market Street. Walk just within the business center in Kampala. Go to Chikubo. See what happens there. See how people are handling trash, and tell me, what is the underlying issue? Something you, like, even you who doesn't deal with these things, you will see and say, there is a problem here.
And it's the law, Olive. If the law is implemented, if the authorities are strict with the law, as a people, we shall also get in shape. If they go, for example, KCCA authorities and the foot soldiers of KCCA are within Chikubo, making sure that if we find trash a certain way, every shop is penalized. No businessman wants to have that as a cost on their business, right? So by all means...
How about as pedestrians? Because, I mean, you're walking, you're drinking your Coke.
And you just litter.
And you just litter.
That's why I'm reminded of an example in my high school. We were kept in order using people outside of the school. And this is what they would do. The authorities told everyone outside of our school that for as long as you saw any student from the school who was breaking a law, please come report, we shall pay you. So for me, that kept us in order, because our uniforms were labeled, it had your name, and you were not allowed to wear anything that wasn't your name. So anyone who saw you with a phone, or anyone who saw you go a place that was suspicious, by all means they would go to the school administration and report that we saw a person with this and this name wearing your uniform, and they did this and this. As you came back, the authorities were waiting for you, and that person was paid. So I believe that even in as pedestrians, we should be our own police. If you see someone littering, dumping, I usually actually tell people off. I'll tell you that, please, that's wrong. Keep it in your bag. You might be embarrassed and quarrel, or probably just insult me, but at least you've taken a mental note. That is wrong. So just imagine if this is turned into a law.
So we need the heavy hand of the law to deal with our complacence.
Hand of the law, because as a people, it's just human nature. We are complacent, and it's just human nature to work with the law, to be in order by the law. So I'm imagining a space like Chikubo, Mini Price, Mukwana Arcade. These are shop owners. By the time they argue vehemently over street vendors in front of their shops,
they can
use the same energy to argue about trash and police each other. That when we do this, each one of us is paying a cost every month, every week, which is unnecessary unless we play a part.
Wow, interesting. Now, Julie, I don't like to play comparisons, but I can't help myself here. Every Ugandan that has traveled to Kigali
I
has
saw that
come back and has testified that this is the cleanest city I've ever seen in East Africa. So there is Kigali. I have traveled several times to Kisumu city, and that city is beautiful. That city is clean. Kenyans themselves say it is the cleanest city in Kenya. So looking at these two examples, especially for the case of Kigali, because everyone is singing their praises, what is working in Rwanda that has failed to work in Kampala?
It is the hand of the law. It's simple. The law.
So do you think government, it's high time, you know how we have bilateral talks with different countries on trade and, you know, many other things. Do you think it's high time Kampala Capital City Authority sent a delegation to Kigali to learn a thing or two about waste management, about implementation.
Maybe should they though? But maybe there's something.
No, it's okay to learn from someone.
It is. There are things that you would imagine are obvious. It's as simple as it's like telling me that I should come to you to learn a thing or two about how to wash my
we've
body.
had other governments in Southern Africa send their delegations to Uganda to teach them how to fight corruption.
Yes.
So should we send
recently, in fact, we signed an MOU with I'm forgetting the country in Asia that in regards to fighting corruption. So if you talk about waste management, sending a delegation from Uganda to Kigali to learn a thing or two about waste management, maybe there's an in-depth science, the science of things. Perhaps so. But if we look at it superficially, by all means, the law. What is the law doing? Why isn't it being implemented? It's on paper. That is so true.
But also,
it's not implemented. It's implemented in some cases. In some cases, it is not. So that means the law in itself is betraying the city. The law in itself is betraying Uganda. The law in itself is betraying a taxpayer.
This is where, if you read your Bible, I would ask, there is somewhere in the Bible where the Lord asks, foolish Galatians, who bewitched you?
But also
this question now, this question now goes to Kampalans, foolish Kampalans, who bewitched you? I'm borrowing from the Bible. So but let's look at the comments. This one says, good morning, Olive and Julie. I think most people need massive sensitization about the poor disposal and dumping because our fellow citizens are just ignorant about that. They think that being a third world country, things like garbage, poor drainage system and poor roads defines us. And lastly, even the responsible bodies haven't done enough to show people the gazetted places where to dump. KCCA trucks come once in a month and they charge highly. So our peasants have no option. I don't condone the acts of people who dump anyhow, but even the concerned people are to be blamed. So we need massive sensitization, not enforcement. This is from Cricket Derek Gagamel from Makindye Luafo. Yes, enforcement. Julie argues that enforcement
because the sensitization could take place, but you will still find someone complacent.
I think the biggest problem we have is poor sensitization.
Surely.
But enforcement is also important.
Both
now,
should be playing.
Yes, Alunyu Simon says, good morning, Uganda. I think even the waste collection companies are not segregating waste, neither is it being done at disposal sites like the landfills. Yeah, I think a lot of sensitization should be done to inform the public, but also as local authorities or government, we should design waste management facilities that support doing the right thing. And then this one says, Ronald is a case in point, but we need to see the consistency from the authority as they start the arrests. There are persons that dump in the normal weather times. We hope the same rule applies to them. I believe CCTV cameras have more of these cases too. And the next from Hudson Israel Watua from Bali City, he says, good morning UBC, thank you for bringing this discussion on the table. Environmental conservation should be one of the most important items to frontline, because if mishandled, it can lead to deadly diseases. Restrictions are needed in order to keep the Pearl of Africa glowing. Thank you so much for your views. The conversation continues online.
Allow me to close with this, that the KCCA also needs to maintain its disposal spaces. The trash cans are always filling up and no one empties them.
All right, and also this issue of KCCA trucks coming once in a month, that needs to be revised. But let's take a short break. We'll be right back with Good Morning Uganda Tourism Express with Zakia Lucky.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Junko.
Yo.
Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda wange. Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Junko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. But what you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archived stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, every story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
A new dawn on Behind the Headlines with me, Timothy Nyangweso. Every Wednesday, live in our studios in the heart of Kampala. We have conversations that have analysis, explanation, but not every truth is fact and not every fact is truth. Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
All on your public broadcaster. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Njagala okwebaza olw'enteekateeka eno gavumenti gye yatondawo ey'okula.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
It is an amazing morning, and I like that we were discussing waste management, by the way, and it affects us so badly in the tourism industry. Imagine getting tourists coming to our country and feedback they have is we are filthy. Let's do something about it. I like that they arrested the guy, of course, that was trashing poorly, and let's all take responsibility as Ugandans to make sure that we are proud of our country and we keep it clean. It's our responsibility, so let's make it a point to take action. In that, we'll welcome on the Good Morning Uganda Tourism Express. My name is Zakia Lucky. Yesterday, we had a very beautiful beauty queen in the station, and this morning we are also crushing on another powerful woman who is passionate about women empowerment, leadership. She is doing so much in the tourism industry with a career spanning 17 years. That's quite amazing. I'll be taking you to her. Let her introduce herself and we get to know more about her. We're happy to have you on this show.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Zakia. Thanks for having me on the show. My name is Laura Kagame, and I am a travel and hospitality entrepreneur. Yes. So under that, I have a travel company called Travel Neza, and a hotel group called Acacia Group, right? Acacia Hotel Group. And yeah, that's it.
Okay, amazing. So Laura, please tell us about yourself and how you've managed to take it up in the tourism industry.
How I've managed? Well, I absolutely love what I do, and it's quite an honor to do something that I'm really passionate about, something that doesn't even feel like work, right? So I started this. I joined the travel industry about 18 years ago. Okay. Right after university, and yeah, I've never looked back. I've never done anything else. I've worked in the airlines, hotels, and the travel agency side, so that's 360-degree tourism.
You've worked all these years in an industry that where women have been expected to follow but not lead. How have you managed to maneuver in the tourism industry with an experience of 18, 17 years?
In terms of being a woman in the industry and the challenges, I actually haven't faced any challenges in terms of being a woman in this industry. I find that, in fact, it's very female dominated. A lot of the tourism leaders, right, the industry leaders in my field are actually female. Okay. And most of my team also is, you know, so it's not been an issue at all. Yeah.
And your work has redefined how many young Africans see travel, not as luxury, but as culture, identity, and lifestyle. Did you always know you were building something this disruptive? Yes,
I am a very intentional, strategic person and big on innovation and growth. So it's very impossible. It's impossible for me to start something and just become complacent with it. So for the next thing, the next big thing, and still always focused on tourism. You know, so because of that, we've always, you know, we're always launching something new, doing something new. Yeah. So
talking about launching you, we earlier discussed about the app that is being worked on and also the wallet.
Yes.
The Neza wallet, which I was quite interested in, especially that Ugandans find it hard to, you know, wake up and just get all this money off the account just for travel.
Yeah.
Yes, please tell us about the Neza wallet.
So the Neza wallet is something that we developed about 4 years ago, and it has really worked with solving the affordability issue. Most people do not travel as much, most Ugandans don't travel as much as, let's say, other people, because it's just, travel is not cheap. You know, and we're very last minute people.
Yeah.
And obviously if you're traveling, if you're booking anything, if you're booking a holiday last minute, it's going to be expensive. So to solve that, we decided to come up with a wallet that helps people put money aside monthly. So if you've decided I'm going to travel every year, then you put a certain amount aside on the app. And the app is so easy to use. On the website, in literally 3 minutes, you can transfer money from your bank account or your mobile money into the wallet, and you can check your balance anytime. You can use that money, use your wallet to pay for any trip, right? You can actually transact using it.
I've been traveling less, but I think this is an opportunity for me to even travel more. So when we look at these projects, all the moves that are coming in, the bigger things that you're looking at, how are they being received? I don't know have they been put out already? Regarding the reception of the clientele.
Yes, you know, for example, together with the wallet, we also came up with a Neza Club. So the Neza Club, these are scheduled trips monthly. So you get onto the website, on our website, Travel Neza, and you go to the Neza Club and you'll see scheduled holidays. So let's say we're in April, so there's Easter. So there's a Zanzibar holiday, a Dubai holiday, a Queen Elizabeth trip. And it's so easy to just go, you know, book this trip and start to pay in monthly installments. So even when you book it, it will show you the monthly installment. Let's say if you've booked, for those who are traveling for Easter, those who booked, let's say in November, and they had 5 months, so it literally automatically calculates that and shows you the installment amount to pay. So that made it really affordable, and because of that, we've had volumes and volumes monthly. Like I have watched people travel from, you know, their first destination, I mean out of Uganda, usually Dubai and all the way to Singapore, and this because of how they're doing it, how they're planning for it. Yeah, so we've been able to help people plan and to help it more, you know, help travel become more affordable. Yeah.
That's amazing. So you talked about women being the majority in the industry, surprisingly, and it's quite, I've been thinking travel agencies, like having to sustain this is a little bit hard. I don't know how you managed to take it to 17 years.
Well, like I said, I'm very, very, very passionate about this industry. It's all I've ever done. And I believe it's that passion, that grit that carries me through. But also because of how much I have invested in it, in terms of even in my own learning. It's all I studied, right? I've only done tourism. So I know how to do it. You know, I'm good at it, I love it, and I am very, very passionate about people traveling more and more. Yeah.
And our topic being redefining African travel culture. We have seen a lot more people trying to bring up culture. There's lots of brands that are theming culture this year. I don't know how it's being put out there, or if you have something to share about culture, especially that it's starting to being embraced of late and being put out there to start embracing the cultures that we have in our country.
Well, we don't only do outbound, we also do inbound. That's Uganda holidays. And within our itineraries, right, while visiting Uganda, we always, I mean, you know, around the country, we always include quite a number of cultural experiences, right? Like in Rubirizi, you know, for people that go to Queen Elizabeth, we include, you know, how they make, what do they call, like the local brew, right? The whole process. You know, we basically include a lot of cultural experiences in our itineraries, right? And even at the hotel, there's always cultural dances, there's, you know, all that. And it is really important indeed to bring out the culture.
And I think tourism. This is the best time to actually put it out there, because we have been lost into, you know, the Western culture and modernity, and there are regions that have actually lost it completely. If we are to look at regions that have kept it really organic, I think Karamoja stands out, and mostly the north. But when you come back to the western side, and maybe Uganda has tried itself as well. Yes, but to this young girl that is watching you right now, what is it that you have to tell them? They probably have big dreams and they want to maneuver in an industry like this one, just like you.
Well, to just not limit your dreams, start where you are, start with what you have, leverage social media, you know. There's just so many ways that you can, you know, start your business or get an internship somewhere. Basically, don't give up on your dreams. Start with what you have, and just small steps that will lead to the bigger picture.
Not giving up on your dreams. Yes, and maybe your
starting
closing
where you
remarks.
are.
And maybe your closing remarks, or what you have to tell people out there.
To embrace travel more, right? That exposure is priceless, and there's so many ways to do it affordably. There's so many good facilities out there now, so many beautiful lodges that have come up. I don't think I have had a chance to maybe talk about the one that Travelneza built, that's called Acacia Wilderness Lodge in Queen Elizabeth. And we literally built this with a Ugandan in mind. It is very affordable, very experiential, very picturesque. You know how we're all about pictures these days, and you know, it is, so basically, embrace travel more, be more adventurous, take your kids out there, and
You know, Ugandans are stubborn, so when you say embrace travel more, they're wondering, why should I invest 3, 4, 5 million to just travel. What is it that I'm going to see? What is it that I'm going to do? So probably maybe inspire them to really travel. What is it that you'll find there when you travel? Maybe entice them to travel more. Yeah.
Well, there's always so much to see out there, and they say, you know, a person who hasn't traveled is like someone who's read only one page in a book. There's so much of the world that you're missing out on, and that exposure it's priceless in terms of it just helps you be more innovative. It leaves you feeling refreshed and rejuvenated, and just makes you happier. You know how they say it feels like. It looks like it's a waste of money, but you know, when you look at it, it's like a source of income also, because I've seen that when people are looking forward to a trip, they are so motivated, so excited, and end up being even more productive. And yeah, so that's why actually companies are actually doing this, embracing travel more, even for their teams. They do a lot of destination team buildings, and because of the effect that they've seen that it has on their staff.
Team building is one of those things that are really needed.
Yep.
Yeah, because with what is happening, really, team building is needed. Yeah, you just had it all. Travel more, you can learn so much about it. To you that is still being stubborn about travel, think about it. Why should you travel? She just took you through why you need to travel, but also check out Travel Neza. There's an app coming up, and also the wallet that is helping you to save and maybe get to travel more. We are still on Good Morning Uganda. Please stay in.
From that conversation with Laura and Zakia, and indeed travel it must be a part of you. It shouldn't be an option, it should be a part of you. So plan for it, budget for it every year in your life. My name is Julie Nantaba Musisi, and I'm here with GMU Business, and we're starting off with matters budget. Government has released 19.79 million trillion. Sorry, apologies. Government has released 19.79 trillion shillings for the last quarter of the financial year 2024-25, representing 25.64% of the revised budget. Now, this cumulative release amounts to 76.422 trillion against the revised budget of 77.196 million trillion, indicating a 99% performance. Now, the State Minister of Finance and Permanent Secretary of the Treasury has announced the disbursement of expenditure releases for the last quarter of the financial year, and the statutory obligations prioritized include wages and salaries for public servants at 1.993 trillion and 288.75 billion on pension and gratuity, and 172.64 billion for Parliament, and then the judiciary gets 58.23 billion. Auditor General's Office is getting 17.46 billion shillings, and the National Planning Authority gets 11.17 billion, and the Electoral Commission getting 94.22 billion to cater for necessary preparations as the election year closes in. Now, agro-industrialization, tourism, minerals, science and technology continue to take center stage in realizing tenfold growth along with their enablers like security, infrastructure and human capital development. Now, Uganda's GDP grew by 6.7% in the quarter, that is the first quarter, and 5.3% in the second quarter of the current financial year 2024-25. Now, looking at Amudat UNDP, over 8 farmer groups in Tapak Sub-County, Moroto and Loro Sub-County in Amudat district have received agricultural inputs through a UNDP cross-border project. The one-year cross-border project targets increasing production, access to finance, infrastructure development, and strengthening social cohesion. Now, the inception meeting was handed over by the program coordinator at UNDP Karamoja Resilience Program, Dr. Gemichis Godina in Loro Sub-County. UNDP is implementing a one-year cross-border project in Moroto and Amudat districts of Karamoja sub-region. Under this project, the farmers are taught better agroeconomic practices, post-harvest handling, marketing linkages, and value addition. Now, Amudat resident District Commissioner Dennis Okori and District Chairperson Joseph Nangole Lobot say the project will increase production and market linkages. And relatedly, Lobot asked development partners to always do needs assessment before implementing projects in Karamoja. Farmers appreciated the UNDP initiative since they have been selling produce at low prices due to limited knowledge on value addition. And the cross-border project is implemented in Tapak sub-region, sub-county in Moroto and Loro sub-county in Amudat district. Now, going to Parliament, the Parliamentary Committee of Budget and Finance, Planning and Economic Development has tasked the Uganda Bureau of Statistics to address inaccuracies associated in data collected. Now, during a high-level meeting held in Chigo, the Uganda Bureau of Statistics revealed its plans of harnessing digital technology in statistical production to address the inaccuracies. And during the discussions, the members of parliament on the committees raised concerns on data provision by the Uganda Bureau of Statistics and its impact on national planning. Legislators say conducting a population census every 10 years may not be sufficient since the country experiences annual shifts in demographics. And they urge the government to allocate resources to UBOS to enable collection of updated data on a yearly basis. Now, the Uganda Bureau of Statistics noted that many people fail to understand census reports, and UBOS says it would harness digital technology in statistical productions to enhance the institution's effectiveness in disseminating actual information. And indeed, I totally agree. Many Ugandans do not actually comprehend or understand statistics from UBOS. But let's move on from matters Forex. And as of yesterday, the 8th day of April 2025, a dollar was buying at 3,702.09 and selling at 3,712.09. By midday, it was buying at 3,703.55 and selling at 3,713.55. Now looking at the pound was at 4,730.91, and that is by midday, and selling at 4,743.68. The euro by midday was at 4,061.68, buying and selling at 4,072.65. The Kenyan shilling was at 28.58 by midday, that is, and buying and selling at 28.66. And the Tanzanian shilling was buying at 1.37 and selling at 1.38. And finally, the South African rand was buying at 189.90 and selling at 190.41. And that's it for today's JMU business. But Good Morning Uganda does continue, and up next is the agenda. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, baby, don't know.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000. Or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21# and select daily, or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Juko. Yo. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government, designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archived stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
A new dawn on Behind the Headlines with me, Timothy Nyangweso. Every Wednesday, live in our studios in the heart of Kampala. We have conversations that have analysis, explanation, but not every truth is fact, and not every fact is truth. Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
All on your public broadcaster. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Njagala okwebaza olw'enteekateeka eno gavumenti gye yatondawo ey'okulaba nga omuntu wa wansi, omuntu omuwejjero wa ghetto afiibwako. Nti nga ghettos eriyo embeera eyaliwo nga si nnungi. Okugereza ddala mu nteekateeka eno nga tennajja, abaana bangi baakwatibwanga, naye bukya enteekateeka eno ejja, bintu bingi bituukiddwako, naddala mu nteekateeka z'ebyokwerinda, security, wamu n'enkulaakulana. Nga tuyita mu nkola gye bayita eya ghetto structure. Ghetto structure kwe kulonda obukulembeze okuviira ddala ku ghetto esookebwako ku kyalo, ne tubeera ne ba coordinators ku muluka, paka eno gye tuli. Omwaka guno yatuwa ssente obukadde 100 wano emikono twabufuna. Era mu nfuna ya ssente zino twagala okwebaza Oweekitiibwa Pulezidenti. Ssente zino ziyambye nnyo abantu ba ghetto. Abantu ba ghetto nakubadde gavumenti ebadde n'emiwaatwa mingi gyeyisaamu ssente zaayo okutuuka ku bantu zibayambye. Naye ssente ezo zibadde tezituuka ku bantu ba ghetto. Ssente zino bannaghetto tuzibawadde era bazifunyeemu. Ebiseera ebisinga wali emabega abantu ba ghetto abamu baali bennyamivu nga bamanyi nti gavumenti yabavaako, era ng'osanga abantu abamu mu ghetto nga tebalinaamu nsonga. Oli akugamba ekimbeeza mu ghetto noonyeza emirimu Uganda wonna gibuze. Twagala okusima pulezidenti w'eggwanga kubanga ssente ze yatuwa twazifuna, era gwe guno omulundi ogwasookera ddala nga bannaghetto mu Uganda. Era twagala okumwebaza okutwagalira ddala n'atuwa ne ku ssente ezikola. Ffenaffe twagala kumusuubiza nti abalaba gye bamulabira nti akadde ate kati olw'okuba yakatutandikako tulaba nga yakavubuka, era twagala n'okumulaga amaanyi 26 oba ki ebyatuswaza edda mu mukono twagala okubimalawo mu 2026, tugatteko amaanyi tumwebaze olw'omutima ogwagala abantu ba bulijjo naddala ffe bannaghetto.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning. Good morning. This is Good Morning Uganda. My name is Olive Monica Najuma, and today, being Wednesday, we normally have conversations regarding cooperatives, SACCOs, and this conversation, according to the feedback that we normally get, shows that it's one that many of you do appreciate, and today we are doing the same thing. But we are now looking at managing risks in cooperatives, and I will be speaking to two gentlemen. One is from the Uganda Cooperative Alliance, and I have another one from the CIC. They will be speaking to us more on how to manage risks in cooperatives. Now, I'll be speaking to Mr. Nicholas Lutakome, who is the CEO, CIC General Insurance Uganda Limited, and I will also be speaking to Mr. Andinda Lambert, who is the accountant at the Uganda Cooperative Alliance, and together we will look to understand the risks in cooperatives, but also seek to see how CIC manages these risks. So be a part of the conversation. The WhatsApp number, if you have any questions or views, is 0709 602 592. Send in your questions, send in your views, your experiences, and the gentlemen here will be in position to answer your views and also give you some hints on how to manage risks in your respective SACCOs and cooperatives. Yes, now starting with you, Mr. Lambert and Dinda. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
How are you?
Fine, thanks. How are you?
I'm fine.
That's
I understand you've had a rough morning.
Yeah.
Are you okay?
It happens.
How are you feeling?
Risks always happen most of the time.
Speaking of risks, this is exactly why we are here today.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, but I'm sorry about that.
It's okay.
But let's look at some of the most significant risks that cooperatives face. Help us to have a clear understanding of some of those.
Okay, thank you so much. Good morning, viewers. Cooperatives, several risks. Cooperative, it's more of like any other business. You can look at cooperatives as any other business. Someone sets up a business, and they're operating in terms of wanting to make profit. So, but there are risks that come along, and most of these risks they come through. They're unexpected first. So most of the risks that cooperatives get to face, most of them are legal risks, where you get to have clients that are going to sue you because of the nature of your business. You have reputational risk. You have credit risk. Most of these cooperatives are financial, and so they lend out money to different members, and most of them fail to pay, or they actually don't even want to pay. So it's a risk. You get to take a look at. I did talk about reputational risk, where it's a risk that you got to, you as a business, you faced with certain issues that could stain your name or the reputation of the cooperative. So several risks. They are governance related, whereby maybe the board of directors they assume all the powers and override the controls within the organization. We have policy risks, quite a number of risks. Several of them we may mention and not finish most of them. So, yeah, quite a number of them.
Okay. Would you say that some of these risks have evolved in the last decade?
Yes, sure, 100%. Most of these risks have been there quite a number of time. Even the past years. We can take a look at, there also, the legal risk, I could say, these have been happening in most cooperatives, where you have the board members colliding with the members themselves, even the management, and then they get to go to court. We've had, as Uganda Cooperative Alliance, most of our mandate, our mandate, one of them is arbitration, whereby we've been, as the board, it's supposed to be handling issues regarding resolving disputes. And so it's been, those risks have been there over time, and we've tried as much as possible to see how best to have them resolved. Taking a look at the political risks, that has been there over time, but in these days, ever since the government came in, that risk is quite low. It has been silenced, thanks to the government for having come in and kind of set the cooperative movement move forward. So it's a bit minimized.
A bit minimized.
Yeah.
All right. Now, moving on to Mr. Lutakome. Once again, welcome to Good Morning Uganda.
Thank you for having me.
Now, help us first of all understand a brief history of CIC Insurance Group and its operations in Uganda.
Okay, thank you so much. So CIC is an acronym. It's Cooperative Insurance Company. And we started way back in 1968, started by the cooperative movement in Kenya. Started first as an agency, then later on a fully fledged insurance company. We entered Uganda in 2014, started doing business in 2015, which is making us 10 years this year. And what we do simply is complete the financial cycle for the cooperative movement. They do a lot of work to keep their members up and down, to keep their members up involved in business, like provision of credit, provision of savings, and the different things that cooperative movements do. But all of that would be incomplete without insurance.
Okay.
So we are that insurance company owned, not only insuring the cooperatives, but also owned by the cooperatives.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. You know, I've always seen CIC around. I just didn't have an understanding that it was an insurance company for cooperatives. And since I've learned so much with the conversations that we've had regarding cooperatives, regarding SACCOs, so to also learn that there is also an insurance company with products and services for the same, I believe that this is actually even more exciting. So what specific risks exist amongst cooperatives in your own perspective and your experience, and what products can CIC offer that are tailored to mitigate the risks associated with the risks faced by these cooperatives in Uganda?
Okay, thank you. So in terms of being specific, that might be difficult because cooperatives operate in different environments.
Okay.
So it's a study that you take, it's a case-by-case basis. Lambert has mentioned a number of them. For us, it's all about what risk is and how to deal with it. Risk being uncertainty for loss. Loss would only be something that you have to worry about if it can cause you a financial loss. Or it can be measured financially. So what we do is in our day-to-day life, we have to be conscious to identify whatever risks we are faced with. If I'm seated in this studio and we have this, suspended ceiling, I have to be conscious that if there is no human error to sit here comfortably. And of course, that is already there. So that's identification. Then now I analyze, evaluate, and then after I mitigate. So that mitigation is where you have to decide, make the hard choices. Sometimes, to keep it simple, you just have to avoid certain ventures because you just can't put up with that risk. Sometimes you go in, I don't know whether you've heard the saying, you test the depth of water by putting in 1 foot.
Yes.
And then you see, so you later on you start developing confidence and something like that. So that comes in. And then through that, you either enter in with some conditions and boundaries, or you enter in with a partner who can shield you. So for instance, I can say, I'm going to move to the island, but I have 3 options. I'm either using a canoe, I'm using a speedboat, I'm using a ferry, or I'm going to use, I'm going to swim. So by swimming, I've retained the risk, it is me alone. By using a canoe, I've trusted a person who is experienced. By using a speedboat, the level of trust could be higher because of the technology advancement, and the ferry, the risk is actually more even minimized because of the strength of the vessel I'm using.
Okay. So
that's where insurance comes in. So insurance is one of the partners that comes when you want to pass on this risk to someone else. You're conscious that it exists. You've done some measures to mitigate it, but there's residual risk that you can't handle, so you pass it over to insurance. Anyone who cannot manage risk primarily is not eligible for insurance. Yeah, because then insurance would be so expensive. It will be as expensive as banking. Because in banking, when you put 100 shillings into a venture, if you're going to borrow 100 shillings, you have to pay back more than 100. Insurance is one where you want to entrust them with 100, and they tell you, okay, pay us 5 shillings. Then we will guarantee the 100 in case ABCD happens. So what makes it expensive is you've done some work on your side, but you're conscious there's something you can't handle. So you pass that over to us. What we do at CIC differently from the rest of the other players in the market, because our core market is cooperatives, is we do not have these set products put on a shelf for them to come and pick from. We provide solutions based on the particular needs of people. So there are people who might have similar exposures. If you look at Kasese and Mbale, they are miles apart.
Yes.
But they have similar exposures because of the mountainous areas where they are. But then that is different from Masaka. It's different from Ajuman. So we do not take this one thing fit all. We just partner through our partners like UCA to understand what people are faced with, and then we tailor something to them based on their need at that particular time. So that's what you would call a product. We call them solutions. Sometimes we give them local names like Kameza, just to make sure that it sinks in.
Kameza.
Yes. So we
yes.
we do tailor to. We are a local insurance company, regional, for that. And what has made us expand into we are a leading cooperative insurer on the continent, not only in the region.
Okay.
Is understanding the people's needs.
The different needs of people.
So the way we operate is we collect this money on their behalf, put it in a pool to compensate those who suffer loss. And whatever remains as an excess is actually paid back to them as dividend, because they are the same shareholders in the business. And that comes with them actually being part of the journey. If we tell you here, proceed with caution, you understand the implication of that, because you are not only a client but a partner or a shareholder. Yes. So the products are not cast on stone. They are flexible and done depending on the circumstances. And the common one could be lending money out there. One of the biggest things we do is that someone has lent money, it's a season for 3 months, or it's a season for 4 months, but then the person can only pay with one installment after harvesting. So tailoring a product like that will be more different than people who do it commercially for commercial banks, because a commercial bank lends you money today, you must pay back the following month, and so on and so forth. Yes, so that's what we do on a day-to-day basis.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, interesting conversation. Now, if you're just joining us, we are looking at managing risks in cooperatives, and I am speaking to Mr. Lutakome, who is the CEO of CIC Insurance Company, but also I have Mr. Andinda Lambert, who is from the Uganda Cooperative Alliance, and he is their accountant. So I'm getting the perspective of the CEO, and I'm also getting the perspective of the accountant from UCA. You normally have questions for UCA in different regards, and this is why Mr. Andinda is here with us. Now, Mr. Andinda, coming back to you, let's look at experiences with risk management from UCA's perspective, and also maybe from your perspective as an accountant. Can you share some of the examples of how cooperatives have successfully managed risk?
Okay, thank you so much for the question. Cooperatives, like I did mention right from the start, risks happen even without knowing. They just occur. And most cooperatives, the risks that have occurred, like I did mention previously, how they have been managed. One is through trainings, most of them, how they have been managed. And most of the cooperatives have engaged us as UCA to kind of help them in terms of trainings, guiding them on how to manage risks. Another scenario is where we have, as Uganda Cooperative Alliance, we've been able to conduct capacity building for most of these cooperatives, especially the board of directors, the supervisory committee, who are moved like the audit committee of the cooperatives and most of the circles. And we've empowered them to ensure that they are able to manage some of these risks that happen. And maybe to add on, most of these cooperatives, they are in different sectors. We have health, we have agriculture, we have energy, water and environment. And the risks that, like Mr. Otakome did mention, it's they differ, and how the approach kind of differs from how you manage most of those risks. So as Uganda Cooperative Alliance, we've tried to engage most of these cooperatives and see how best we can help them through conducting audit and supervision, or most of audit and supervision, to see how they basically, are they following their policies in place, are they following the legal policies and the frameworks that are in place. So it's how we've tried to help most of these cooperatives to manage their risk.
Okay. Now, for instances where risk management strategies were less effective, what were some of the learning lessons?
The learning lessons, most of these cooperatives, of course, they are, I could able to say, they are those cooperatives, they get to have such problems or risks happen. You are able to engage them, you call it arbitration, you go and do audit, and provide a report, do the capacity needs assessments, and then guide them on the next way forward. Some are able to come out of it, but others may not, due to the gravity of the losses that may be incurred. So how we've been able to try and guide them is to keep on orienting them, keep on training them, keep in touch and see how best you can guide these cooperatives. Others come out, others don't, but yeah, that's the way to go.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Andinda. Now, Mr. Lutakome, coming back to you, let's look at CIC's involvement. How has it influenced the risk management practices overall and overall resilience of cooperatives in Uganda?
Okay, thank you. A very good question. So our influence has largely been to create awareness, awareness that tomorrow will not take care of itself, because tomorrow will be here anyway. So, for instance, last year we paid over 5 billion shillings in claims. That is, a claim is a loss that has occurred that was insured, and that is money that is made available to ensure that the circle, for instance, does not go bankrupt because someone came and robbed the money on gunpoint, or because, like you said, system failures, board and management connived and money was lost, or for some reason a member or two lost a life. They don't have to strangle the relatives to recover the loan money. Or, you know, other incidents also occur, the floods.
I've seen memes of a woman who was collecting SACCO money, went blind.
Yeah, it's tough.
Lost their memory.
Exactly. So you don't have to hire those tough loan collectors. You just have to ensure such that when you lose a member, you're actually more empathetic than enforcing. So that has been something that has been, in my opinion, very positive to society. Also the awareness that risk exists and they need to cover just beyond what is already covered. We are getting requests on a daily on the things we can improve or we can provide. Sometimes they are not that easy to model financially, but it keeps us at our best to make sure that we provide that. So from an impact point of view, I think that has been something good. We also conduct some trainings in the same forums to get members to understand how insurance works, and also in terms of our staffing as CIC, a lot of our staff come from the cooperative movement because they understand the spirit of the movement. The only thing they need to know is to understand how we operate, and then we have a very seamless operation as a team. So that has come in quite handy to ensure that the resilience of the cooperative movement is ensured. The other bit is obviously through the training and awareness, we believe we've contributed a bit on the internal controls and processes, where someone, for instance, wants to insure money that they have in a banking hall. They know that money is for the savers, but they have an obligation to safeguard it. And then they say, supposing someone broke in here and stole money, you say, yeah, that you need insurance for. However, you need to have a safe, if you must keep it in a premises, and you need to have a watchman at all times. You cannot have one watchman on the premises for the entire 24 hours, and you cannot have one person with a set of keys who can in isolation open and access. So in so doing, this helps to create that awareness that much as we have insurance or we have an opportunity for insurance, we need to safeguard. So by so doing, it reduces the insurance expenditure in terms of premium, and ultimately the awareness and consciousness because most of these incidents are vices. And how a vice thrives is if the systems are weak. So by so doing, that becomes less and less of an issue, because we try to share these best practices that we see happening elsewhere to manage the risk, so that we do not have to charge you 100 instead of charging you 10 in order to subscribe to insurance. So that has been quite impactful for sustainability of these cooperative movements that we deal with in the country.
Okay. Now, are these impact strategies that you have used, are they the same strategies you use to mitigate risks in cooperatives?
The risks in cooperatives are broader than what we deal with as insurers, because there are certain risks that they are faced with that can't even be insurable. But what we do is trying to come in at the case where there are risks they are dealing with that they can tolerate or live with, and they need a partner to reduce the impact in case matters go south, or in case things go bad. So to an extent, yes, it does, but we are aware that they have more risks than we can deal with from the insurance side. Because we come in with a financial, what is measurable in terms of parameters and all that. They come in with something a little more broad. There are so many emerging things that sometimes we even, we listen to and get to understand when we enter some of these, when we're having some of these engagements in the workshops, in the AGMs, and that interaction gives you that wider picture of what the environment is. The operating environment has way too much risk that they are dealing with, and the good thing is majority of that is dealt with through the support of organizations like UCA, who are able to to provide that constant training
and as well as the audits, and making sure that people are applying the best practice for sustainability.
All right. Well, if you're just joining the conversation, we are looking at ways through which we can manage risks in cooperatives, and also I think SACCOs are also provided for. Do you deal with those too?
Cooperatives and SACCOs are
one and the same. Tomatoes, tomato.
One is like a subset of the other.
Okay.
Or a cooperative is a SACCO can be a cooperative, but a cooperative does not necessarily have to be a SACCO.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So join the conversation. If you have any questions, the number is on your screen. It is 0709-602-592. I'm speaking to Mr. Lutakome, who is the CEO of CIC Insurance Company, and also Mr. Andinda from the Cooperative Uganda Cooperative Alliance. So any questions, any views, please share them. The gentleman will be in position to answer your concerns or share your views in one way or another. Now, coming back to you, Mr. Andinda, from the perspective of UCA, I understand that you deal with many grassroots SACCOs and cooperatives. Yes. Last week we did have a conversation of, is it Lyamjungu? Is SACCO, yes, and one of the answers that Mr. Lutakome here has given was actually answering something I asked them last week of, you have all this money, you have all these SACCOs, rather in different, because they have branches in Kabale and other places. And my concern was, how do you ensure that this money is safe? Because people at the end of the day are going to want their money back in one way or another. Now, there was a concern that one viewer said that sometimes the committees of the SACCOs connive with enforcement, and actually I will just quote him, he said, and they eat our money. What do you have to say about that?
Okay, thank you so much for that question. It's very wonderful. And what we, as Uganda Cooperative Alliance, what we've been able to do is through partnerships and also advising those cooperatives to basically go for insurance. Like I did mention from the start, and maybe like Mr. Lutakome did mention, a risk, it occurs without even you knowing. And on the sad note, it happens, and it has a negative effect. And so what we've decided is, as the cooperative movement, they're able to start up an insurance company, CIC, which is in place. And we do advise all the cooperatives outside there to insure their property, their monies. In case of any eventuality, you're able to at least have 100% paid back. So CIC, it's our own, that was created, like you did mention from the start, that kind of shields any cooperative or any SACCO in case of any issue that comes up. So by all force, also what we've been able to do is continuous mentorships, trainings of these SACCOs, how to go around managing most of those risks. Also engaging different partners and stakeholders, engaging the government to ensure that at least we have these cooperatives, put into consideration. And one of the issues that one of the risks that I believe was mitigated, was it falls under operation risk, is where we are able to engage the government to kind of have these SACCOs be tax exempt. And that way they're able to, most of the SACCOs have.
How are taxes a risk?
Tax, it's in one way it's a risk. Most of these entities, the funds that they get to receive, it's not their money.
Okay.
So we have the membership subscription. Then you have people bring in money only to earn a small interest, but that same interest is taxed. So if this SACCO is aimed at improving the livelihood of the community, the economic development, then at least you'd first give them some leeway or time to first have some accumulated savings, and that way they're able to. So tax is not a risk, but at the end of the day, if you're going to tax this entity that is still coming up, has just started 1 year or 2 years, then you're actually crippling it. So we are able to, Uganda Cooperative Alliance was able to lobby for these cooperatives and the SACCOs to have this tax waiver for the next 10 years. I believe it's going to expand in 2017. No, 2027. So that way they're able to mushroom and have stable income.
Does that exemption also include the ones that will probably come up probably close to the end of the exemption? You said it's 10 years, but then there could be one that might start in 2026 and it's expiring in 2027. Is this one covered, or there will have to be another conversation with government?
Thank you so much. We are working around the clock to see how best we can have another tax exemption come in, and also believe it's our prayer that the government gives us a listening ear, so that we are able to have another tax exemption, because the main aim of the government is to see the economic development and thrive, the increase in household income.
Yes.
And so by having these members within the cooperatives have enough resources at their disposal, they're able to take their children to school, they're able to have the basic necessities in life. So once we have, we are going to lobby and then see if the government can still give us another, most probably 10 years, and then we're able to have the cooperative movement move on. And I believe the government is willing, and we still say thank you. The 10 years that we've had, it's been really good for us as a cooperative movement, but we will still request for more extra 10 years as we move forward.
Okay. Now, I understand that you have partnerships like with insurance companies like CIC. How have these collaborations with the insurance companies, CIC here, maybe others, if any, how have they helped to promote risk management among cooperatives, the collaborations?
Oh, thank you so much. I can ably say with CIC, I won't mention about any other insurance entity. It's CIC that we basically work with, because they are our own, which we started up. And so how they have kind of helped us is most of these cooperatives, like I did mention, they're in different sectors. Agriculture, a disaster could come up, and maybe a cooperative, it's more into farming, let's say coffee. A disaster happens. We've seen the seasons have come in, rains, and the entire coffee is washed away. And so if the insurance, if the coffee has been insured, then that's when CIC comes in and kind of covers up the losses that have been incurred by the farmers and the cooperative at large. And so also most of the trainings that we've been having, I can actually ably mention that as we speak right now, the team is in northern and in West Nile conducting trainings across regarding risk management, regarding capacity building, business development. And in most of these trainings, we've been able to engage CIC to come in and handle the risk management bit, and they have been able to, they have been doing it perfectly well. And Mr. Takumi, thank you so much. We hope you, every time we give you a call, you're able to respond, come in handy, and then have such issues handled. So insurance, they have played a very big role in terms of training, ensuring such kind of disasters. So yeah.
Okay. Now let's look at policy and regulatory environment. What policy or regulatory changes would you advocate for to improve risk management in the cooperative sector?
Okay. Policies. We do. Okay. Every entity or every cooperative has its own policies. Every organization has its own policies. So in the cooperative movement, there are several issues around the legal framework. I can maybe say, to mention, the cooperatives are facing a challenge in terms of the legal framework. One, there are those SACCOs that fall under Bank of Uganda. There are those that are being managed by the microfinance under Microfinance Act Tier 4, and so it's causing more of a bit of a commotion. Where do they fall, or where do they lie? And so, but I can ably say there's an arrangement. There's a harmonization, and I mean it's called amendment and harmonization of the legal framework for these cooperatives. It's an ongoing process.
You want to fall under one umbrella,
under one,
same way commercial banks are under the central bank.
Exactly.
Okay.
So let them fall in one place, but not to be divided and not knowing where do I fall, where do I go. And so that the policy is very clear. So Uganda Cooperative Alliance is spearheading that movement to make sure that engaging in government and different stakeholders to make sure that we have that one policy that can guide most of these cooperatives.
Okay.
We do hope that it comes through as fast as possible.
Okay.
And yeah, it's our prayer.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good prayer.
Sure.
I'm sure cooperatives would be happy about that because, yeah, being in too many places, not having one umbrella body under which you fall, or maybe I shouldn't call it an umbrella body, but you get my point.
Yeah, I get you.
Anyway, Mr. Lutakome, coming back to you, let's look at some of the challenges in insuring cooperatives. I believe that in as much as the work that you do is a great work, there are challenges. You've mentioned one thing I've picked from the conversation is the fact that cooperatives face different risks in doing the business that they do. But still, I would like for you to expound on some of the challenges CIC encounters when developing and implementing insurance products for cooperatives.
Okay, thank you. So one of the biggest challenges we have in Uganda is our business is largely informal. It's a challenge as well as an opportunity. However, for systems like insurance, it poses a bigger challenge. The informal nature of operation requires you to be extremely alert to the reality on the ground, and if you ignore reality, you'll be riding on your horse alone. So the informal nature of operation is quite challenging on things like record keeping, data cleaning. Sometimes you get data that is a little informal. You cannot deny someone access to insurance just because it doesn't have a NIN number or a national ID number. But now retrieving that for every member becomes a little hard.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, it will be much easier if you have access to the same kind of if you have access to to the same kind of data that the rest of the other sectors have regarding insurance and financial services. The other bit that we have to deal with is the remote nature of the areas where we go to. So I remember one time I drove to West Nile. It was visiting my clients, the SACCOs. So some time back, it's over 10 years ago. So at that time, some areas in West Nile were not on the grid. So I sit down.
Electricity grid?
Yeah, the electric grid. So they run on generators and solar panels at night. And then I remember asking a manager of a SACCO to give me the list of members who've been insuring for the past 3 months.
for many of the circles in urban areas, it comes even before the money for insurance comes. But this one, we're having a challenge. It would come 3 months later, handwritten. So then now you have to transcribe it, but you have data anyway. So I asked him for the list, and he had to power a generator. Someone has to power a diesel generator so that it turns on a computer to retrieve that, and then send it to a printer and give you a print. I felt it was too much.
Yes.
I felt I was asking for too much. So when you're dealing with a person like that, next time you don't sit in your cozy office, make a phone call and say, guys, you have to comply with ABCD. The challenges they are facing also affect you in the sense that sometimes you have to create some margins of error in the way you're dealing with them. For many times, documentation is not standardized because of these realities that we see on the ground. So for instance, if you're going to tell people you must, if you've lost a relative and we have to pay you some bereavement cost, you need to give us evidence of death.
Autopsy
so in Kampala,
report.
it's very easy to talk about things like autopsy.
Yes.
Talk about things like need a death certificate and all that. The other side, the LC letter suffices. But what happens if it's handwritten in vernacular?
And many of them are handwritten
in vernacular.
and in vernacular.
Yeah, so it's authentic, it's handwritten, it's in vernacular, but then you don't have that scale to standardize that kind of thing because the luxury is not there. Sometimes you may not even have a staff in your own office who can interpret that particular language at that particular time. So it's a reality that comes with it. And the other bit is generally as a country that we suffer with is we do have this culture of let me call it laissez-faire, but sometimes it comes from the environment we are in. We take things for granted, so we don't prepare. Because we do not prepare for tomorrow, you know, it is defined by the way we do everything. The food you're going to eat at lunch most likely was harvested last evening and, you know, driven to Kampala, and whatever remains you have to pour it away. We are almost sort of like that Israel in the desert because we don't prepare for tomorrow. So because of that, it becomes very hard to convince people to take up these additional insurance products that are very crucial for their lives. So for instance, if you have a cooperative society with over 300 members active involved in agriculture, you convince the cooperative society to take up agriculture for some of the key risks that are affecting their day-to-day operation. Then it becomes harder to convince the individual members that, you know, you have 600 heads of cattle. You might need to insure them because there could be an outbreak.
Oh, Mr. It feels like the conversation is just getting started, but our time is fast spent. Now, in less than a minute, please, let me have your parting remarks.
Yeah, so I think personally, I would like to encourage people to join cooperatives. There are advantages to it. One of them being that under the cooperatives, you have some tax advantages to your hard-earned money. You have access to simplified insurance because of the collective. You know, you have a collective bargaining as a group. So things you can't get as an individual, you need to cooperate with the rest of the members, and you have that. You don't always have to be up country. It can be at a workplace. It can be in a family. It is something that I would like to encourage Ugandans to embrace, the cooperative movement.
All right, thank you so much. And Mr. Ndinda, in less than a minute, your parting shots.
Okay, thank you so much. And to the cooperative movement, we do pray and we hope that you continue cooperating. Just like the CEO of CIC has mentioned, it's through cooperatives and cooperating that we're able to move. There's a saying of, you know, Avali awam in Uganda. So we've got to work together as a team, and I can ably say and holistically and religiously say that where we are right now, the cooperative movement has it's moving forward, and we do encourage each and everyone to come in, work together, and insurance is the way to go. Ensuring the risks, make sure we get to manage the risks, come up with the policies that basically favor our kind of businesses that we do have and operate, and we are able to move forward.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Andinda, and thank you so much, Mr. Lutakome. Well, thank you so much for being a part of the conversation. I'll read just one comment. James Tumwini from Chankwanzi says, cooperative entities would actually be good organizations for transforming the economic and social welfare of the society, but lack of integrity, accountability, and patriotism, inclusiveness has crippled its growth and development. And that's the only message I'll share because of time. But thank you so much for being a part of the conversation. It is said that if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, then go as a group. So join a cooperative and it will change your finances. Now, last night, Arsenal did do a thing with Madrid, and someone did say that probably today Arsenal supporters don't need to eat food because they're satisfied from the win from last night. Now, Ruben Pima is right here to give us more details regarding sports. So stick around for Good Morning Uganda sports updates.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning.